Hello everyone, this is Locko S, and welcome to Sinai once more. We are in Israel, and in today's flight, we are taking off from Tel Aviv. We're going to head out from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, down south over Jerusalem, over the West Bank, over to the southern, these air bases here, Nevatim, Kardam, heading west out towards the coast, heading up the coast, passing Gaza, and then up here Tel Aviv, and then we're going to go past to Tel Aviv quite a little bit, turn around, fly near Ben Gurion, and land back here at Tel Aviv, and that'll be a fairly good tour of the actual of pretty much the majority of Israel. Beyond Tel Aviv up north, there really isn't anything of note at the point of note. Hafta, Nazareth, these areas all up here are actually included in the very southern end of Sinai, which is pretty neat. Believe it or not, you actually have Tyre, Beirut, actually in the actual physical map size, plus Damascus, so it's pretty neat to see those actually here on this map as well. That's the first time I believe DCS has ever had that happen before, outside of World War II, I believe. You have Inbred, I believe. That's also in the map. Maybe I think that's in the map. This is definitely this is Jordan down here. So Syria up there, Jordan down here. So we're going to go ahead and just stick to Israel because this is where the majority of the action on the Sinai Peninsula, the Sinai map, is going to be. And I don't know if that area up. There's definitely not going to be any high detail areas up there or over here in Jordan. So that little bit of a preamble done. We're going to get a military power and take off. We do have a center line tank today and two wingtip AIM-9s just to keep our loadout fairly light. I'm going to be doing a much heavier loadout for whenever I go to do the Sinai Peninsula because that's way more area covered. So I want to do an F-15. So I'll do an F-15C for that one probably with two external tanks. Even on military power, we are slowly being able. There we go. Wheels up. We are climbing. Alright, we're just under. We've got a 95% on the throttles. Just do a nice gentle climb out. We're going to turn east to fly over Jerusalem. Now, I don't expect any of these cities to be highly detailed up here with like special buildings. This is pretty far outside the combat zone of most maps for most of the combat that's going to be happening. The good news is that between all the air bases on the southern end of Israel and like the eastern side of Egypt, plus the fact that the actual peninsula is where all the air combat's going to be taking place, that's where we really want to focus in on where all like the good detail is for the terrain and stuff. Because we're not going to be really, unless like you're doing a liberation style campaign where you're fighting through basically the entire coastline from back there all the way up here and inside every single city. City detail isn't really important right now. They will improve all the DCS World maps pretty much once they release. They take a little while to get like fully up and running, but once they're fully up and running, they're awesome. I know it's like South Atlantic map, for instance, was pretty light, but then over the past couple of months over the past like year or so and a couple of months, they've really started like fleshing out like more and more details, adding in more and more airports. Syria was missing the entire island of Cyprus for a while, so that was pretty big. So these maps will get better over time. It's just a matter of waiting. The map literally just came out. All right, 600 knots. Just honestly to be expected. Try to get our fuel flow a little bit on the lower end there. Mainly because I don't want to run out halfway through our flight here today. Plus, we're going to be flying fairly low. should be good. 1,500 pounds. Okay, yeah, we'll be good. So up ahead, this is Jerusalem. And game. See, there's lots of walls. And that's very much a thing that is in real life. Better or for worse. See, all these high-density buildings right here. Looks like there's a military facility right there, which is interesting. As you can see, there's no, there's a lot of these standard issue, quote unquote, Israeli buildings. There are no custom buildings in this map, in this portion of the world. Frame rate is, so we're still getting stuttering with the frame rates, where the frame rates will be good, they'll be good, and then all of a sudden they'll stop and crash. There we go. Here's Jerusalem from an altitude. It's pretty cool to see all like the hills, and it's actually kind of a. It's actually not that bad. Like once the map loads in from the micro stutter, I'm getting 60 FPS. So this is definitely, it's definitely not performing terrible. It's just all these little micro stutters from, I'm guessing, the map loading certain directions. No question, it's a bug that will get resolved, or that's a feature that'll get hashed out. I shouldn't be looking outside my cockpit all the time like that. Let's get back into normal flight. There we go. 10,000. Alright, fuel flow is still good. Let's increment our waypoint. I have to say, this is actually really good looking terrain. Like, yeah, like the cities might not be fully detailed, but like the basics so far of the actual like terrain and areas outside the cities look really good. Like this farmland here looks really good. Also in Egypt, like the farmlands there in Egypt looked good. So this is actually looking pretty impressive. Plus you have those forests over there. That looks pretty good. That also looks good as well. I do believe this is the West Bank that we are flying over. I'm quite sure. Eventually we'll hit the southern end of it and exit it. You really can't tell from up here. It's not like there's like a defined border, so to speak. Quite sure there is in real life, for better or for worse. Again. Alright. I'm gonna quickly check the F10 map. So yeah, this is still technically the West Bank down here. So we're still over the West Bank, and we're going to be over for quite a bit of time. Really interesting terrain down here. Like lots of You have these lots of these like small rolling hills, lots of forested areas. It's like it's arid. You can tell it's arid, but it's not like completely dead. It's even crazy. We're so close to the coastline that like we're at like 10,000 feet, and we can easily. We're at 10,000 feet still. Let's see here. Yeah, we're five. Oh, we're only 5,000 feet, and we can easily see the ocean over there. It's pretty wild. All right. Alright. There's, yep, our waypoint's coming up. And with it, there's one of the air bases. I forget the actual name of the air base. There's a lot of them, and the map just came out, so it's going to take me a while to learn all the air bases' names. But I definitely know it's an air base because I don't think there's any civilian airports out towards this section of the world. And not only that, you can kind of tell. There's hangars. The military-style hangars down there. No, obviously there's also no airport terminal with parking. Oh, and that's just off the one wing, off the other wing. There's another airstrip there. I remember there was one little oddity where in this part of the map, Israel has like two air bases like right next to each other. It's probably like all the same complex, but two separate airstrips. Well, crap, that one on the bottom has a crap ton of parking too, so that's definitely something. So this means with the Israeli air bases, we're probably Gaza Strip probably ends somewhere out there towards the middle of my view, and then this is Israel again, and then Egypt in the Sinai Peninsula probably starts somewhere out here. So it's pretty crazy how there's how little physical space there is between taking off from one of those air bases to getting up to altitude to actually being right into Egyptian airspace. I'm quite sure that was intended. So I know there's those two air bases over there. Then another, it's not another air base. I know there's another air base out here. It's not Ramat, that's the other, I forget the name of it, but there's, I think it's actually, sorry, it's probably behind us at this point. But there's another large Israeli air base to the south and east of us over that way. So that's actually heading out towards the Red Sea that way. But the thing that's coming up on our radar now is the Gaza Strip, and yep, there's the infamous, I think that's a wall, or I know that there's a wall. Yeah, I think there's like there's a road that goes around it, there's probably a wall, there's probably a small little river, and this is the infamous Gaza Strip right here. It's crazy to think that all those news stories you hear all the time about the Gaza, like I heard about the Gaza Strip growing up, just from listening to like foreign newscasts like in the 90s and 2000s. They were talking about like this little like tiny area of the earth, like right here. All that news and all that coverage. This is the Gaza Strip right here. It's very, even like you can tell, like, even like the low, quote, the low density areas, quote unquote, are still relatively tight. Not a lot of, there's a little bit of farmland and stuff, but it's mostly just house upon house upon house. And I'm quite sure they're not too happy for good reason, by the way, to see one of it's Israeli Israeli Defense Force F-16 above their heads. So let's get out and stay out and fly along the coast so that we're not flying over their heads. Gaza Strip right there. And then Gaza Strip borders is Egypt somewhere right around there. So that's another thing that's happens.
Altitude. Altitude.
Let's see here. There is. Now at some point, Israel starts, Gaza Strip ends. So I think we're past where the Gaza Strip is right now. And no, it's going on for a little bit longer. So it's not horrendously small, but still, it's a very narrow bit of land. Yeah, because there's the, I'll probably fly down pretty low to make sure that's a wall and not a river. But I'm pretty sure that's the wall, and then there's a road that goes around it. So, like, there's literally between the... Just tilt the wing over a bit. We're flying over the ocean, more or less right there. So there's the ocean. And... literally a couple miles inland, and that's actual... That's the actual wall, and then that's Israel out there. So that's a relatively thin piece of land that they got. And now, yeah. See, they even built, yeah, that's definitely a wall, because they even built that little bit of a wall section out there. So, I guess to deter anyone from, like, easily hopping in the water and, like, go swimming around it. So, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the Gaza Strip right there. So from there, all the way back along the coast up there, I think it terminates somewhere right there, and that becomes Egypt right there. And then the Gaza Strip, like I said, is only like literally a couple miles apart from each other. Apart from like the ocean to the actual slant border on the other side of the ocean, or it's parallel to the ocean rather, right there. That's pretty crazy, like how short of a distance, how tiny it is. And now that we're in Israel itself. Another military air base up there. It's crazy for as small of a country as Israel is. It's like literally covered in. They use the Air Force. Air Force is pretty well known and pretty remarkable. That yeah, even though it's like yeah, it's a well known Air Force, but it's still such a small country. You wouldn't think they would have air bases everywhere, but they do. And with that airport up ahead, I do believe so. There is a smaller Israeli military air base that's literally right along the coast. Yep. To show this one's interesting because I actually kind of like this air base. They might have like, a lot of ace combat missions out of this one. There's like one long airstrip here, yeah. But there's also this tiny little mini airstrip right there, so you can have like smaller trainer aircraft or helicopters use that smaller airstrip, and then other aircraft use that longer strip. Plus, it's like right next to the ocean, so you get some probably get some like cool views, shots from it from the beach. I know there's, I believe, Tel Aviv. All right, let's go down a bit. Cutting throttles a bit as we go down. Okay, 6,000 pounds of fuel. We're doing pretty good on fuel. I do believe that would be Ben Gurion up in the... Get my center view centered. Yeah, that's Ben Gurion, which is Israel's international airport, I believe. All right. This is Tel Aviv, another city that every time they talk about Israel on the news, it was Gaza, West Bank, and Tel Aviv. So here's that city. Shipping port, which is pretty... That shipping port looks really good, by the way. A lot of industrial buildings. Looks like there are some unique towers. So... we have the fuel reserves. So I say, let's buzz some towers. Yeah. Israeli Air Force bothers the people in the West Bank and Gaza enough. Let's go bother the people in Tel Aviv. Some interesting architecture down here. And my frame rate, so I'm not getting as much hitching I've noticed. I think it's probably because it has to when it's definitely a bug. It's definitely a bug where it doesn't know what to load in first. So it'll doing its map preview, it doesn't know how much to really load in. So it's as you take off, it's trying to go to, oh no, crap, I need to load more in, I need to load more in, I need to load more in. And then once it realizes, once it has everything loaded in, it runs pretty smoothly. So it's probably just a bug and something they need to just honestly just work on a little bit, hammer out. Shouldn't be that hard, shouldn't be that bad. Because this is pretty crazy that we're getting relatively high frame rates. Oh yeah, the one hitch there. Another one, but like this is really good. I'm really happy with the performance. And like I said, my PC isn't the most beefy in the world just because I wasn't able at that time to actually get anything more powerful. It's an interesting power plant. And, oh, there's a local airstrip, by the way. We're probably going to get talked to by our air defense commander. It looks like a local airport, though. There's some, yeah, that's definitely more of a local airport. All right, now let's see here. Crash. See if we can put it between two of these three buildings.
Altitude.
Looks like there's a really massive tower right there. Oh, we could have some fun missions here. So Tel Aviv is actually pretty nicely modeled. Now there's not, I'd probably say it has as many unique buildings as Cairo. But Tel Aviv is at least very well fleshed out, I believe. I don't think they really have to do too much more. They might have to do a couple more things, but Tel Aviv is actually looking pretty good. Well, that's a unique looking building.
Altitude.
Alright. Well, I don't want to take too long with the tour, so we're going to go ahead and Okay, and look at this little airport right here for a little bit. See if we can see anything interesting. There's quite a lot of parking spaces. So they probably can't use this as a military airport. Yeah, I think that's actually a protected area. So this is probably like a small military airport. But it might also be used for civilians, although there's civilian parking right next door. Although that's probably for the beach. And it is really cool that there's actually a little bit of a beach right there for them. So, I guess that's the infamous Israeli beaches. Another little industrial port down there. Get our view back in. So we're gonna. I just looked at our HSI. It is time to turn around, but I want to see how detailed the waves are down here. Ooh, I see.
Altitude.
Seagulls.
Altitude.
The waves don't actually look too bad down this low. And obviously, it could be. Yeah, they could be modeled a little bit more. The beach could be maybe a tiny little bit more detailed, but I actually think it's pretty good. Especially the fact that they added all those little seagulls next to the beach. And the important thing is once you go punch the throttles here, see how high we can climb with our loadout. Alright, we don't need to go any higher. Oh, there's that hitching at the absolute worst possible time. Well, thankfully, because this is a single-player game and not a single-player mission and not a multiplayer mission, I don't think it actually would mess it up too bad. Let's see if we can fly inverted for a little while. Alright, we're gonna fly inverted and look straight down. Yeah, it actually looks good at altitude. Okay, I can tell that my pilot doesn't like to be inverted. Makes sense. Alright. Now let's see here. I do believe our next step on the
Altitude. Altitude.
There's our HSI back to where it should be. So there's our landing air base up at, with our landing waypoint. Fuel is... Oh, we're still good on fuel. We burnt roughly half, which is what I expected. We're not flying air. We're not flying we're not flying for fuel efficiency at this altitude. We're flying for sightseeing. Sightseeing in a jet that does a little bit more. This has a little bit more power than a Cessna. Not much. Just a little more power. Because I've done tours of the Caucasus map in the. Basically, the Russian Cessna that we have is the Yak-52, and it takes forever. You'll love the Yak-52. It's a really fun aircraft to learn at DCS, but it takes forever to get from point A to point B. It's definitely get yourself a nice big glass of whatever you want to drink, and make sure you go to the bathroom before you fly, because you're going to be in the pilot seat for quite a while to get from anywhere to anywhere. You'll also probably have to stop quite a bit because its gas tanks aren't the largest, so... Yeah. And there's Tel Aviv off in the distance. Lots of unique buildings there, so I'm actually pretty happy with how Tel Aviv turned out. I feel like that's a pretty fleshed out city right there. Kairos is actually decently fleshed out, but Cairo is also a massive, city. There's Ben Gurion. We're just gonna skirt around the outskirts right of Ben Gurion and then come in for a landing at our air base. Alright. Flying over Ben Gurion, you can see there's 1, 2, 3 runways. There's all the terminals right there. So, I mean, Israel isn't a huge country, but that's still a little bit smaller of an international airport than I was expecting. Cairo actually has a larger airport than than Israel, with Cairo International versus Ben Gurion, which is interesting. It's still a respectable airport with 3 runways. I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people take cruises, Mediterranean cruises, and they stop off in Tel Aviv and disembark there. I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. That's how people also visit Israel, through cruises. So, well, there's our air base up ahead. I believe that's Tel Nos. I want to say it was Tel Nos if I remember. And there's the diamond there indicating that's our spot. Let's see if we can't. Obviously, we're not doing a landing pattern. Kind of want to end the video relatively quickly. And yes, I would not fly this way if I was playing online or a serious mission. This is more of a, I just want to get this done and over with. Well, it looks like we're going to be a little too fast, so we'll do a landing circuit. Why not? We'll do a landing circuit this time. Up. All right. There's the hardened aircraft shelters there. Now, Tel Nos, the one thing I've noticed is that the one airstrip is pointing due north. So at the very least, it should be fairly simple to get a reciprocal heading. Let's head due north for our reciprocal. A little bit of fly slightly off of due north to get a little bit more space for our final turn. Here we go. Okay. Alright, now let's turn for final. If we wanted to, we could have turned a little bit tighter and landed on one of those two. Probably the left of the two, but we're going to land on our runway that we took off from. So turn a little bit tighter. A little bit tighter. There we go. Lined up left. Air brakes get just a little bit bit slower. Flare. Bounce because I can, I guess. Keep our nose pointed up to 10 degrees for aero braking. Will I be able to brake in time? No, this is going to be tight. And yeah, I did it. Okay. So that was kind of close, but at the very least we got slowed down right before the taxiway, so that's not the end of the world. Alright, so before I end this video, I want to check out something while I'm on the ground here, because those hardened shelters look pretty interesting. I want to see if I can fit my F-16 into one of them. And I will say, I haven't really explored the air bases too much because I was focusing on exploring the other areas of the map. But it does look like there's a lot of really good detail in all these air bases with the hangars, the ground equipment, all that other fun sort of stuff. The terrain, the trees look also pretty good. Let's see here. So it looks like I need to taxi right, left, and then we'll get to them, so. Oh, make sure I don't get too close to these towers. They even have, like, this, crates for gun ammo, or something. So there's our right. Now we're gonna go left. For this, and... Yep, those hills, quote-unquote, are the, hardened shelters. So we're heading in the right direction. Turn up ahead here. I just keep on looking at these trees, by the way, and I'm like, holy crap, these are really detailed. It looks like this part of Israel is, like, really well done. Cairo also, the trees around Cairo also really well done. So I'm really actually pretty happy with this area of the world. Obviously, Jerusalem needs work, but they'll get to it. The good thing is that the map is off to a definitely better start than SA, South Atlantic. Although South Atlantic does kind of suffer from the fact that that's a part of the world where there's just not a lot of air bases, not a lot of really big airports, so that'll always be sort of in a state of suffering. These are really interesting. So these are the hardened aircraft shelters. So I guess there's only parking on the one side, so the door opens up and sort of nestle into there. There's enough space. These are going to be interesting because apparently it looks like I'm going to put mine into the one at the end. So like there's the cutout for the tail up top. So you have to make sure that you're putting the cockpit right underneath that center portion here. Now I've seen these in some hangars on some maps, so you have to be careful. Make sure you do that. See what it has here. Hold on. open. At least mostly open. Alright, so it's probably, yeah, it's probably as high as it's going to get. Alright, are we tucked in far enough? I think so. And stop. And let's shut her down. I do like how they have this, sort of this hoist up here. So if you need to access the top, anything on the top of the aircraft or remove anything from the top, you have this hoist there to like move things around. That's cool. It's a really well detailed hangar. So before we call this a video, I just want to see something. Well, I managed to get my F-16 in there fully. I would imagine you'd be able to get an F-15E in here. It's not. It's the F-16C definitely has plenty of room. F-15E definitely could probably fit in here. Maybe might be a little snug, but that's for the that's not too bad. Save space. Obviously, they would want to get their F-15Es in here because they're definitely a very potent platform. So they don't want to lose them. And that's it. So that's it for the Israel tour of the map. We'll probably do one more first impressions tour, and that'll be of the Sinai Peninsula, which will be this area here. We probably won't cover the entire peninsula. We'll probably take off from Ramon, head down south past Ova, see what it's like. Probably go to St. Catherine, then go to Radis, and then kind of like cut up real quick here, and then head cut up here, cut through the middle and back to Ramon. Just to see what it's like out here. I really do have to say I do like what they've done so far up here. This map definitely has promise. Cairo needs a couple of things, but it's looking pretty good. This section of the map is looking really good. So until next time, this is Laco S signing out, and hopefully we'll get the actual Sinai Peninsula map tour done relatively soon. Until then, see you around.